Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting webinar. So we're in June and it's always a special month at Nu Skin, a month that we dedicate to the force for good. And this year we're doubling the donation of every Epoch product sold between the 1st of June and the 1st of July. So all proceeds will go directly to the Nu Skin Force for Good Foundation. That's an exciting announcement, I think. Another exciting thing this June is that we'll be introducing a whole new Epoch product called the Yin Yang Mask. And that's a great reason to invite both Tina de Franza, our own EMEA product trainer and expert, and Dr. Paul Cox to this webinar. So to hear all about the power of plants and our Epoch range and the history. So Tina, are you there?
I am indeed, and thank you very much, Michiel. I am so honored and happy to be able to invite Dr. Paul Cox to our call today. Dr. Paul Cox is a professor, a dean, a chairman, a father, a husband, a true lover of plants and nature. And Paul, welcome.
Thank you. It's so fun to be with you. And greetings to everybody who's joining in on the call.
Greetings to everyone. We want to know how this love of plants really started. So can you take me back?
You know, Tina, I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes I just think we came to this planet with certain interests. And I mean, do you feel that way? I do sometimes. That certainly is true with plants. My earliest memories are of the smell of iris flowers growing along the ditch bank or the rough texture of juniper berries. I can't even walk into the doctor or dentist's office if there's a plant there without wanting to go up and look at it and touch it. And I just, I know it sounds weird, but I just feel a real affinity for plants. And fortunately, I had some wonderful parents who nurtured that. So instead of collecting baseball cards when I was a boy, I collected photos of plants and learned their names. And I just love plants. They make me happy. And I think in my marriage, it's very interesting. I may be one of the few men in the world whose wife regularly sends me flowers, including when I'm traveling, because it's our little secret communication, and the language of love for us are flowers.
Oh, that's beautiful. So does that mean you grew up knowing that you wanted to work with plants, or did life take you other roads?
No, I did. I mean, I started working on my first book on plants when I was 10. I built a greenhouse. My father, of course, helped me when I was 9. I got some endangered carnivorous plants that the Forest Service gave me a permit for, and would sleep out in the greenhouse with them. So I'm just sort of a plant guy. And it's really funny, even here, I'm speaking to you now from my laboratory in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We're very close to Grand Teton National Park and Yellowstone National Park. We were up there on the weekend looking around, and of course all the tourists want to see the wildlife, the grizzly bears. Meanwhile, I see a little flower by the road and I'm very interested. I could forget the grizzly bear. I just want to see that flower. So
fantastic. Then you have an undisturbed area while everyone is chasing the grizzly. It sounds like.
Yeah, I was very lucky. And you know, and I always felt deeply about the plants. As a little boy, I used to pray to God that he would protect the plants and the little animals. My dad was a park ranger, and so when there were injured animals, he'd bring them home and, you know, help heal them. So my mother was a biologist, so it was really just an ideal setting. And a very special time for me was being right here, where in the mornings I lived in a cabin. I'd get up and chop wood so that we could, you know, heat the stove to cook our food and warm the water for our shower. And then I'd immediately go fishing. So, you know, it's just a terrific way to grow up.
Fantastic. So later on, you ended up becoming an ethnobotanist. But for those people who have no clue what that entitles or what that might be, can you just give us the run through?
Sure, sure. I was very lucky. I just feel very humbled, really, because I had some wonderful opportunities in my education. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I eventually ended up as an ethnobotanist. An ethnobotanist is sort of like half anthropologist, half botanist, because I study how indigenous people use plants. So I've had a lot of fun living a lot of my life in very remote villages, I've worked a lot in Southeast Asia, a lot in the islands of the Pacific, but trained in South America, Central America, and Africa, and then even have had such a wonderful time in Scandinavia, spending time with the Sami reindeer herders up above the Arctic. So it's been just a wonderful experience. And what I find is no matter where I go, as soon as I start talking about plants, looking about plants, people gather around it. They seem to sort of pull people together. It's an interesting thing, and because everybody has their favorite flower, their favorite plant, and people start talking to me about how they use the plants. And of course, I'm trained to listen and take careful notes. So it's been a really fun profession for me. I feel very lucky to do this.
So you didn't start in ethnobotanics, right? Where did you start then with your education?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I didn't know if I could ever make a living as a botanist. So I did a degree in botany and philosophy. And then that was in the United States. And then I went to the United Kingdom, did a master's degree in ecology, and then came back to the United States to do a PhD. And I was trained as an evolutionary biologist and rainforest biologist. And I know this is quite common in European area, but for Americans, there's really very few Americans that are trained as tropical biologists. And most Americans were working in Central and South America. I prefer to study the old world tropics. So that's why I've spent a lot of time in Indonesia, Polynesian islands, these sort of places. And lo and behold, I was able to become a professor and continue my fascination with plants.
You already mentioned now quite a few parts of the world, quite a few continents. Where have you lived? I mean, I know you and your family have moved a bit around due to, not a bit, quite a lot maybe, due to...
Yeah, let's see, with our children, I have a terrific wife, Barbara, who we maybe chat about a little bit more, but we've lived in Samoa for quite a while on several occasions. We lived in Sweden, in Umeå and Uppsala. We've lived in England, in the United Kingdom. We've lived in Wales, New Zealand. We've lived in Australia, and we've traveled in between quite a bit. So it was really fun for the children in a way. I was worried that they would fall behind in their schooling, but we worked with their school teachers, so we'd take their books and they'd stay on the regular school schedule wherever we were. In fact, in the remote islands of Samoa, we called it hut school because we lived in this thatched hut for a year. No electricity, no running water, but it was just heaven. And for their breaks in the studies, the children would run down to the tide pool on the beach and play in the tide pool. So they don't feel they were neglected or had any deprivation during this period.
Amazing experience for them, and lucky for you that you had a wife who was supportive of your job and who traveled along so you could have this great adventure together, I suppose.
Well, she's a mathematician, so turns out you can do math about anywhere. But she's been really a key component, and again, I feel very lucky we were looking yesterday at some mallards on the pond near our home, and Barbara said to me, these are a type of duck. And she said, you know, Paul, they mate for life. And I thought, well, that's what's happened to me. I'm very lucky.
Oh, that's beautiful. So all of this travel, all of this work has led to, do you know how many articles and published books?
Yeah, I mean, my assistant helps me keep track of this. I think I've written maybe 3 or 4 books and published about 230 scientific articles. So it's been a good career for me.
Quite impressive. And I know the late maybe president contacted you. How and why and what?
Oh, that was so surprising, you know. In fact, I don't know about your life, but in mine, sometimes I find when one door closes, another one opens. Have you ever felt that way?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes from our anguish of loss, we find a new opportunity that opens. So here's the story in brief. I was doing evolutionary biology. I went to Harvard University for my PhD, where a very famous ethnobotanist, Richard Evans Schultes, was there. when he discovered that I could speak Polynesian languages, he said, well, you need to do ethnobotany on the weekends. And so I did that. But then when my mother became very ill with breast cancer, suddenly I changed. And I thought, you know, what I'd been reading a wonderful book by a Harvard sociologist called Robert Coles. Coles said that when your interests and passion intersects a deep societal need, you're hearing a call. And I thought, well, I'd really like to help cure illness. I'd really like to do these things. And I thought about going back to medical school, but then I realized if I could discover a new drug, maybe I could help millions of people. And so after my mother died, suddenly I got this letter from the White House, and I had not even applied for this thing. And President Reagan gave me a what seemed to me to be an enormous sum of money to do any research I wanted to. So Barbara and I got out a map. We decided to go for a year. I told the university I was just going to go to the jungles and thank you. They said, no, you don't have to quit. We'll hold your position. So we went for a year or two. We found the most remote rainforest, the biggest one we could find in the South Pacific, and went and lived with our family for a year. And that's where so many things opened up that really led to the Force for Good and really led to Epoch. And we can talk about that when you're ready.
We will. So the late something president gave you a sum of money. I understand it was an award for.
Yeah, it was called a Presidential Young Investigator Award. And unbeknownst to me, they had looked at my career and decided maybe this guy has some promise. And so they give a few of these out every year, and I was fortunate to get one. So, and I decided, why not do research that no one would fund? So that's why I went to study with indigenous people, because I spoke the languages. I knew how smart they were, but I really wanted to see if I could study how they use plants for medicine with an eye to helping the fight against the disease that had taken my mother's life, which was breast cancer.
So that was your, starting point. So how does one move from thinking they want to try to find a cure for illness to creating fantastic products that we now all use and love?
Well, here's the story. I was working with the U.S. National Cancer Institute, who are experts, and I went down to see them, and these were the top officials. I said, you know, I've done some estimations. I said, I think I have a 1% chance of discovering a new drug if I do this, if I go study with these indigenous people. And they said, well, we've been talking about you, Paul, and we think you actually have a 3% chance. I thought, 3%? Wow, that means if there's, 32 other people like me out there, one of us are going to come up with something. So we went to this little village, discovered that the people didn't even have a word in their language for cancer. So again, I was sort of sad. But then I got a letter from the National Cancer Institute. They were working on HIV/AIDS. Was there anything I was finding that might use that? And I suddenly remembered that this healer had taught me how they used a plant to treat a viral disease. And that led to the discovery of prostratin as an antiviral drug candidate. And then the loggers showed up, started cutting the forest down where I collected the forest, the plants. People were weeping. I said, why did you let these guys in there? They said, well, we have to build a school so our children can have an education, or the government will pull the teachers. And we're poor people here. The only thing we have of value is that forest. And I said, well, what if I could raise the money to build the school? Could you stop the loggers? So they sent the two chiefs up to chase away the loggers. These guys had bulldozers and chainsaws. And then I met with Barbara. And I said, Barbara, good news is we've saved a 30,000 acre, that'd be about an 11,000 hectare rainforest. I said, but bad news is we'll have to sell our house and our car because I've got to come up with $85,000 in 6 weeks.
In 6 weeks?
I had 6 weeks to come up with $85,000 to counter the loggers' offer to buy them out. And you know if your marriage is working in a moment like that, you know, because what's she going to say? And we're sitting in Samoa. She took my hand. She looked in my eyes. Said, Paul, what a great opportunity. How often in our lifetime will we have a chance like this? Let's go for it.
Oh, that's amazing.
So she agreed, yeah, we'd cash out. Well, word got around the university I was at that, you know, we're probably going to be ending up living in a tent when we returned on the corner of campus. And our friends helped, our family, Ken Murdoch, Rex Mon assisted. And within 6 weeks, we had $85,000. And here's the cool thing. We didn't even have to lose our house. We didn't have to sell our house. So I returned to Samoa with $85,000 in my backpack with the whole village. We walk into the logging firm. And I mean, there's several hundred villagers. And we had purchased the logging rights right out from under the loggers. The villagers turned to the loggers. They said, don't ever come back. Don't cut another tree. Boom. And we'd saved this forest and built this school. And that, in so many ways, was the very first Force for Good project, because it was that courage, really, of Barbara that led to everything that's happened since with Nu Skin. And I'm happy to talk about that when you get a chance.
What a story. So that was not even in the cards. You didn't go to save the rainforest or to save.
No, I was just a scientist. And, but then I just saw this urgent need, you know. Well, as soon as that happened, word spread that this crazy guy had paid for the school. Other villages approached me and said, we have loggers too, we need to build schools. So we started signing more mortgages for our house, you know, and I had a wonderful postdoc at that time, Tom Selmquist from Sweden. We raised money in Sweden. We built more schools, and this eventually led to creating a foundation called Seecology. But let me back up. When we discovered a new drug candidate for viral disease, for AIDS, in SIDA, I think we call it in France, in Samoa, it was very important to me that the indigenous people got a return on their money from this knowledge. And fortunately, the National Cancer Institute agreed with that. But it takes so long, so many years to get a drug through the development process. I wanted to find a faster returns. And I noticed the women had beautiful hair, beautiful skin everywhere I worked with indigenous people. I said, you know, and some of these women are like, you know, 95, 96 years old. So why do you look so spectacular? I said, well, we use plants. Why didn't you ask? And they showed me. So I wrote this little paper. Maybe indigenous knowledge could be used to help create new personal care products. Suddenly, the biggest cosmetic firms in the world were courting me. I mean, I flew out to one. They picked me up in a limousine that was bigger than our apartment at Harvard, you know, and beautiful laboratories. And I said, okay, great, but how much money can we send back to help these people that need schools, that need water supplies, that need medical clinics? And they said, oh, our lawyers won't allow us to do that. And then I was sort of discouraged, and then somebody said, well, you know, have you heard of Nu Skin? Well, I had, but I didn't know very much. So I made an appointment, went inside these two guys. One guy's name was Blake. This was Blake Roney. Another guy's name was Steve Lund. And I said, well, you know, can we do this? They said, Paul, that's why we have a company. So we can help other people. Of course we can do that. Wow. So we started the Epoch line. And the idea was that every time a product sells, 25 cents, a quarter of a US dollar, goes into the Force for Good, whether the company makes money or not. Furthermore, all of the money goes to the project. There's no salaries, no administration, no bureaucracy. The company covers all of that. So I was so thrilled. And I guess technically the first Force for Good project was them giving a $75,000 gift to build a rainforest walkway in Samoa. Rainforest walkway. So the people could earn income for their elderly folks, like a retirement scheme, without cutting the forest. And what really impressed me was that Steve Lund and Sandy Tillotson are two of the founders. They flew to Samoa to dedicate this walkway. And I mean, we're living in little huts, you know, with crushed coral and woven mats and eating fish heads and And they didn't complain once. They said, oh, this is marvelous. This is fantastic. What an honor to be here. So I really felt that it was, I never anticipated I'd be involved with a business before, but it was fantastic. And then some things really started happening, which are just amazing in terms of the force for good. And we started releasing the Epoch product. So it was a great experience for me.
It's quite amazing what can happen if you just open your eyes and ears. So you just went for another purpose, but because you saw and lived and felt it, that's how we have our products today.
Yeah, but this was not designed, Tina. We just fell into this. We didn't go there
No,
expecting to build a school or anything like that. It's just there was this need. And I think that's one thing that really surprised all of us, and me particularly, was how I find that same spirit among our new skin distributors. Because they're incredible people. And when they see there's a need, they immediately respond. I mean, I was stunned when Michael opened this call by saying, we're going to double the Force for Good contribution in June. I didn't know that was coming. I mean, it's just like this never-ending series of good surprises coming from Nu Skin. And the other thing that amazed me is that the distributors accepted me because, you know, I mean, our people that work at Nu Skin are both our corporate people, but more importantly, our distributors. I find them to be incredibly sophisticated people. I mean, you know, they're the sort of people you know, you think of hanging out with Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie, you know, I mean, they're incredible sort of people.
I agree.
People, very sophisticated, and yet they've accepted me as a scientist. I'm just a botanist, you know, so, and they're the sort of people, they see a need and they immediately respond. They have this sort of, I don't know what you call it, Tina, it's like problem solution. Here's a problem, let's solve it. And that's sort of the spirit I see so much in our distributors and why I enjoy being with them so much.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think from a company's point of view, we normally say that it's Force for Good might be 5% of what we do, but it's 95% of who we are. So
I've heard Blake Roney say that, and
yeah,
they're really sincere. I mean, I'm sort of amazed by these guys, you know. I mean, I don't think Steve Lenz even had a parking ticket his whole life, you know. And everything they promise has been great. So as a scientist, that's been really good because when we make a product and I say, and I want something that's expensive or difficult, of course, you know, I mean, if I can just talk about that for a second, when we began designing the Epoch line, they said to me, well, you know, what do you like? What sort of packaging do you like? And, you know, I tried to be diplomatic. I said, well, you know, maybe we need a different sort of packaging for these products. They said, well, what do you like? I said, well, you know, there's a line called Origins that's sort of interesting. And they hired the designer of that line, Cynthia Graney from New York, hired her full-time as an employer. And so our first product that we released, I don't know if you can see this, it's a polishing bar. Mm-hmm. This has in it a bark of the Siskiyou tree up in Canada. The First Nation people along the Pacific coast rub the bark on their skins before they go out to go fishing. And it sort of glows their skin. And then it has in there glacial marine mud and the Siskiyou bark, which is red. So Cynthia Graney, and think about this a second. She's New York. She's very sophisticated. When she heard what we were doing, the first packaging coming from this, she put Siskiyou bark in. She put the active plant ingredient in the packaging. So if you ran out of the bar, you could actually rub the packaging on your skin. You know, it was crazy days. They don't do that anymore, of course, but the first release had that in there, and I thought it was great. So it's just been a lot of fun to create these products, you know. Another one, do you have deodorant in EMEA, the Epoch deodorant?
Yes.
Yeah. This one, I was doing some studies in Haiti, the island of Haiti, with what they call leaf doctors. I had a wonderful graduate student from Haiti who was studying this, and they use this plant. They call it in the Haitian language Zoranzi. It's Citrus aurantium, a special type of citrus that they rub, and it soothes their skin down. In fact, this it smells. It just, man, I
Yes.
just smell because it's this raunchy smell from Haiti. Yeah, grab it if you got it, and just get that smell. So, and this is the only deodorant that my father-in-law, who's now 101 years old, can use because it's so gentle, it soothes the skin. Well, here's what happened. We noticed that the women in this village, La Serre, above Port-au-Prince, about an hour drive out of Port-au-Prince, the capital, were carrying water in buckets on their head,
Yeah.
about 6 miles. And so we thought, well, hey, so we took the proceeds just from this product, got some engineers down, drilled a well down, tested to make sure the water was good, put a state-of-the-art solar submersible pump, build a reservoir. It doesn't look really fancy. It's like a big concrete box with a pipe sticking out and a tap. Turn it on, absolutely clean water comes out. Boom, that was our force for good thing. And then I started getting these letters from the ladies in the village saying, we noticed our babies aren't dying anymore. And I hadn't thought about that, but we take clean water for granted. These people didn't have clean water. They're getting water out of the ditch. So that's something we've been doing, is building water supplies, medical clinics, schools, surgeries for children. In fact, the whole company, I think, sort of really focused now on improving the lives of children, which is something I agree with. So who would imagine that a deodorant, by the way, I'm the marketing genius that came up with that name, deodorant. Who would think that that could save the lives of children in a distant village? But I assure you that it did. So, wow.
Yeah, speechless. Paul, you've done a ton of great things. If I were to tell you, you can only mention one thing, what would you be the proudest of? Not marrying
Obviously,
and your kids, but
yeah, marrying Barbara was really lucky. I think it was Oscar Wilde said that one of the joys of middle age is meeting the people you did not marry. I don't know how I did it, but I really won with that one. She's terrific, and my children, of course, those are the important things. But what I'm excited about, I guess, is trying to show that Indigenous people have dignity, they have knowledge. Really, in the old era, people used to deride some of these people as witch doctors, or, now we realize they have this tremendous knowledge. And so it's been great to be sort of sustaining that. And the Epoch part of that is that we use some of the knowledge to make these products. This was fun. This is Ava Pui Amoni, shampoo and light conditioner in the Epoch range. This comes from a plant called Ava Pui or something close to that in Tahiti, Tonga, Fiji, Hawaii, almost anywhere. And they showed me how they use these bulbs to make their hair so beautiful. They had long hair like yours, a beautiful hair, and it makes it very soft. And this shows the company. Okay, so I come to the company and say, I think we ought to make a shampoo. And they said, great. What are we going to make it from? I said, a plant called Ava Pui. And they said, well, where do we buy that at? I said, well, you can't buy it. We'd have to grow it because we don't want to damage the rainforest by collecting it. And they said, where would we grow it? I said, well, you could grow it in Hawaii, maybe on old pineapple plantations or sugarcane groves. Okay, they said, well, and what part of the plant do we use for the flower? I said, that it only from the flowers. You have to get it from the flowering bulb. They said, well, how often does it flower? I said, once a year. They said, wait, you want us to start a shampoo where we have to grow the plant? We only can use one part of the plant, which is the flower, and it only flowers once a year. I said, yeah, that about sums it up. They said, oh, okay. And they did it. So, when you open this up, I showered with it this morning. The fragrance is that fragrance that you get from the plant. And emotionally, it takes me back to the waterfall where the people originally gave me the plant and showed me how to rub it in their hair. And so no matter wherever I am, whether I'm in Johannesburg or Oslo or Phoenix, Arizona, that morning I begin my day in this beautiful waterfall with these lovely people. And this really matches what Sandy Tilton said to me, because I started working, and she said, well, what do you want? What products do you envision? She said, we want emotional consumables, products that emotionally people connect with and they consume. Well, I mean, it's very dangerous to become addicted to your own product, but I'm actually extremely unsettled if I travel somewhere and I forgot this. I really don't like to put the hotel stuff in the air, Ava Moni.
I was gonna ask you, is there an Epoch product you could not live without? But maybe you just answered that.
Ava Moni, but I do have to say the other one that really we love a lot is Baobab Body Butter.
Mm-hmm.
And this was such a fun project for me. I was so impressed with what our company is doing in Malawi. And I said, would it be okay if I tried formulate a product based totally on plants from African villages? They said, well, let us know what you think. And I'd been working in Africa. So I came up with this. It's the fruit of the baobab tree, these big, long sort of fruits. They get the sweet pulp, rich in antioxidants, packed with shea butter. So, and we have other little plants in here that the Africans use to make their skin glow and treat. And so, this stuff, I can't keep it around, even in my laboratory. The scientists all use it. It has this beautiful smell. And here's sort of how fun it is. Because here's a little secret you get by listening to this webinar. If you look in the very top of the package, let me get so there's no light there. There you go. Maybe we can put a picture of it on the screen. You see a little heart up in that tree.
I never noticed that.
No, it's a secret. We didn't tell anybody. The product designers put it in there. It's our little code because it shows that these plants came from Africa with love. Okay. I mean, the baobab tree is this beautiful tree that, people revere. It shows that we return love to Africa because every time a jar of baobab body butter sells, a tree is planted in Africa. And it doesn't have to be a baobab tree. I mean, in fact, I know a Norwegian distributor who stacks these empty jars so she can see how many trees she's planted, right?
Wow.
And then it shows, more importantly, I mean, show that again so you can see that heart. It shows, more importantly, that we work for a company that has a heart. So it's our little code that we put in there. We have a lot of fun. We build these products and put little, I don't know what you call them, little secret things in there just to keep us happy. But this product really, to me, sort of encapsulates the Force for Good and what our company is about. And I like what you said, that Force for Good's 5% of what we do, but 95% of who we are.
That is a fantastic story that I've been with the companies for many years, but that is the first time for me. So,
so you haven't noticed it before. There's a little secret.
And it's a product I use every time I step out of the shower. So, but no, I never noticed that. So thank you for that. So I suppose you didn't have a vision to start with because this was like you seeing something and then out of that came this amazing Epoch line. But the vision from it began until what Epoch is now? Is it what you envisioned or?
Oh, very much so. And the best way to think about Epoch is it's traditional knowledge accumulated by indigenous people for centuries, combined with cutting edge science. And that potent combination makes Epoch. And if I can, I'd like to mention our newest product, which I understand you're releasing very soon.
We are.
Can I mention that? Would that be okay?
Yes, it would.
So this is the Epoch Yin and Yang mask, which has been such a fun product to work on because it sort of is making peace with your skin. It soothes your skin. It detoxifies your skin. It has in it jasmine sambak, which is this amazing flower used throughout China, throughout Asia. In fact, there's a song that children sing in China. Every school child in China knows this song because the plant's called mulihua, M-U-L-I-H-U-A in English words. Everybody knows this song. Just go on the YouTube and you learn it. I think it'd be fun to learn to sing this at some convention because mulihua about the beautiful jasmine flower. I collect them. They're so pretty. They're so wonderful. We have that. We have in here a Hoya, which is grown under grow weave conditions. This is the company's exploration of having zero impact on the world. It's sort of an amazing hydroponic. I mean, it's just amazing what the company's done with this. And the thing I love about it, it's yin and yang. So when it comes out, do you mind if I demonstrate? Would this be okay?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it comes out and it's white, and you rub it on your skin. You see how it's sort of white like that. But then if you rub it, it changes colors. See, can you see the color change there?
Yes. It goes gray now.
It goes gray now because that activates the charcoal. Activates the charcoal there. So I'm getting the centuries, of Chinese studies of the mulihua flower, maybe the most flattest flower in China, a cutting edge grow weave technology plant, and then modern new skin science, which activates this charcoal, and it produces a smooth, glowing, detoxified skin. And it's such a nice combination, I think, for a skin regimen with glacial marine mud on a regular basis. I see a glacial marine mud on the back there of your, grab that hand. Yeah, I mean, that's so fantastic. That comes from indigenous people in Canada. Went to an estuary. We're trying to get clay to make pots. They couldn't make pots, but they find their hands are so beautiful. That's glacial marine mud. And then that really, you use that regularly, and then use this maybe in the evenings or in the mornings if you want it to sparkle. It's sort of a way to really tone your skin and make it glow and sparkle. But you have to be careful. My daughters had masks on when the FedEx guy came to the door. And they opened the door, and of course he sees like New Guinea mudmen. This guy was a little startled. But it's really fun, and we're having a lot of fun with this. So I have a confession to make. The Epoch products I designed, a lot of them are just ones that I wanted myself, and so it's fun to be able to make your own products. I mean, the other one that's sort of fun that way is Ice Dancer, which is a companion product to Firewalker.
Mm-hmm.
Firewalker has this leaf that the healers rub on your feet to, that's it, that's Ice Dancer. Well, I actually invented that when I was living in Sweden. I was the professor there. Yeah, I was the professor.
Close to home.
New stuff. And they have this great race there they call the Vasaloppet, where people ski these ridiculous distances and their legs are tired. So we put in, hold that up again. Hold up and right, and then smell it. Can you open it up and just smell it? Tell me what it smells like. Because go ahead.
It smells like mint and like crystal clear ice, if crystal clear ice had a smell.
Yeah, you got it. Because what happens is the Native Americans will run 50 to 100 miles and rub this special mint arvensis, on their legs. And then I combine it with some wonderful European ethnomedicine. So the idea is it's to use on your legs that are tired and achy. Most people, when they put it on, they feel initially a cooling sensation, mm-hmm. and then sort of a warming sensation. But we use it after skiing now in my family. We don't go skiing without it. You can use it after tennis, people on their legs. And then what my daughters do, and it's really fun with Barbara, is they'll get Ice Dancer, Firewalker, and Soul Solution, and have sort of, when I'm gone out somewhere in the jungle, they'll get all their friends over, and for an evening they'll have a special spa where they rub their legs in that. And the thing I just found out, which makes me so happy, is that in Vietnam, people are using this because this is designed for one purpose only, which is to improve Paul's ugly feet, okay? And it gets rid of the cracks, it just makes your foot look better. And people in Vietnam that are nervous about wearing sandals or flip-flops because their feet use this. So that makes me really happy. So it's been a lot of fun doing these products, and I'm just thrilled that people have accepted them so well. I mean, this was fun, making a baby product so they don't cry when you wash the baby's hair or face with it, a hibiscus hair and body wash from Baby Epoch. It's just fun making products that we can use, that we love. And I have to say that EMEA has been the top seller of, the top of Epoch products, meaning the top per capita contributors to the force for good. And I think, there's especially something, I mean, obviously I love Europe, but I think people in Europe get it in a way that it's a little bit of an education process for Americans who are used to going to the big box store and buying something off the shelf. I mean, when you start telling people about something like this in Europe, they, oh yes, my grandmother did something like this. There's the story. There's and we look at German Commission E, where they are using, or Sweden or Switzerland, they're using plants in the pharmaceutical industry. People understand the power of plants in Europe in a special way. And I think our younger active consumers like this sort of stuff. So it's been a great thing for me to be part of that. And my hat's off to you and to all the distributors. What you're doing when you sell these is really not only getting a good product, at least I hope you like it, but more importantly, making a lasting contribution to the force for good, which has been just such a terrific thing for me. And could I maybe go to one little story about force for good? Would that be okay?
Do it, please.
So in Madagascar, which is like really the world's treasure box of biodiversity, I mean, lemurs and flying foxes and orchids, there's this really remote village in the south that we found out had no proper school. So using Force for Good funds, we built the people a school there. And they were so happy to have a school for the children. In turn, they agreed to protect the forest, all the little animals and things in it. So a win-win. But then we found out that children from another village wanted to come to the school, but they had to swim a raging river that was seasonal to get to school. I mean, risk their lives to get to school, my heavens. So we said, well, we'll build a bridge. Boom. So we built a bridge using Force for Good funds. And when the bridge was dedicated, the elders started crawling across it because they'd never seen a bridge before. So no, you can walk across it. It'll hold your weight. But what I haven't told you is this village is 3 days from the nearest road, 3 days hike. And the villagers carried all this stuff on their backs because we couldn't get a helicopter to get in to build a school. So I think of Epoch as a bridge. It's a bridge between cultures because it links us with indigenous people. We get benefit returns. It's a bridge between different peoples. And one of the things I really hope about Epoch is that it's a bridge to the company, because I think particularly in Europe, it's a way of introducing new people to the company. Because when you take a product like Avapuimoni or Baobab body butter, the product really demonstrates itself, but it also encapsulates what the company's about. We're here to provide opportunity to people. We're here to provide the top grade products. I mean, if you want cheap products, well, there's other places you can get those. But you want the best, this is it. And it opens up, my dream would be that Epoch could be used as a greeting card to open up all the other great products our company makes to people. So I'll be very interested in hearing distributor stories and see if they're able to use Epoch as sort of a greeting card to open up the company to other people.
I think that is a great introduction, and hereby given to all of the viewers right now. Paul, I think it's been amazing. I think that has been nearly settled for 10 minutes now, meaning you need to go and wash it off with warm water, but we will go into that product later.
Well, I'm hoping that the detoxification will reach into my brain and pull out some of the toxic issues that are afflicting my country right now. So
I don't think there's anything toxic. Nothing toxic in that brain. Paul, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for agreeing to join us. And and thank you for all of the very fantastic stories you shared with us.
Absolutely. And let me leave an open welcome to any of our European distributors from EMEA that come. If you find your way to Jackson Hole, well, I mean, honestly, if I have a sandwich, I'll give you half of it. You know, I really wished I could just put you all in my canoe or my Jeep and go into the village, show you these projects. I mean, you know, we started off, Barbara and me, by building one school. We thought, oh, that's going to be the greatest achievement of our lifetime. Because of what you people have done, we've built 300 schools. 300. In fact, Barbara and I dedicated the 300th school in a remote island in Fiji. First decent school these children ever had. This little girl came up to Barbara and said, "Do I have my photo with you?" Sure. She's barefoot. We found out this girl walks 14 kilometers every day barefoot just to get to that school. We've done surgeries, we've built hospitals, we've built schools. I mean, the impact here is massive, and it's all because of what you and your colleagues have done. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this and for embracing the Epoch products, and particularly for your support for the Force for Good. I'm deeply, deeply grateful to you. So thank you very, very much.
I think I said before we started this interview, Paul, that you shouldn't make me cry, but that's ruined now. So thank you again to you. And for the rest of us, we are going to continue to deep dive into Epoch Yin and Yang mask.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to Paul. Again, amazing stories. I'm going to deep dive a bit into our newcomer, the Yin and Yang mask, which is also here. And I know Paul already mentioned it, but let's go a bit more into specifics. So it is inspired with some of the ingredients from the area of China, but on this slide, you can see all of the other products that we have in EMEA to date. So the reasons why you have to love this mask is that it will detoxify and nourish your skin. And you can use it for multi-masking, not multitasking. I'm going to get into that a bit later. It contains a blend of kaolin and charcoal powder, and that is really what will detoxify your skin. It will make your skin look healthier, brighter, fresher, and more luminous. It will reveal softer and smoother looking skin, and your skin will feel soothed and more balanced. It has this scent of this specific jasmine flower that Paul already talked about, and that's really going to help you de-stress, and it'll promote inner harmony and glow. And then it contains an ingredient that is CEA grown. And I'll go a bit more into detail with that in just a second. And then Paul already mentioned it. Every time you buy one of these Epoch products, you are donating 25 cents to the Force for Good. And he just told you how much good we are actually doing in the world. So even more reason to love it. Key ingredients that you will find in this product are a few. Some of the ones I want to mention is the porcelain flower extract. This is the one that is CEA grown, and that is what we're going to talk about later. But it's really this ethnobotanical extract that is grown in our very special way. Then it contained the jasmine, type of jasmine scent that you also see here. That's going to give you a nice and fresh fragrance. It was traditionally used in China. And that is also what Paul talked about. And then, of course, you could see the product changing color, and that was due to the charcoal powder and another absorbing agent as well. So what does it mean when we say that a product contains CEA-grown ingredients? Well, CEA stands for Controlled Environment Agriculture, and it's a technology where we are really able to trace the seed from seed to solution, trace the ingredient from seed to solution, and then it's our way of growing ingredients sustainable. So you have to imagine that we are now growing plants in a massive greenhouse, if you will, so where we can really control all factors. So whenever you see that little green logo, that's the GrowViv logo, and that means that the product has one or more ingredients that are grown with this technique, CEA grown. And this is really our long-term ambition, that we can source more of our ingredients through CEA to make it more sustainable. All right, moving on. So how should you use it? I think you saw Paul do it already, but first we want you to wash your face, and you have to have a dry face when applying the products. Then you put an even layer onto your face, and then you start to massage it. And when you massage it, that is really when you activate these microencapsuled charcoal, and that's when it's going to start to change color. Then you leave it for 10 to 15 minutes, and then you can rinse it off with warm water. So that is very easy, and the steps if you want a little bit of me time. I mentioned multi-masking before. Multi-masking is like multitasking, you're doing two things at once. But multi-masking is when you use two different masks. And I think that would be great to use our Yin Yang Epoch together with Epoch Marine Mud. These two products are different, right? So you have the glacial marine mud. It's in a big tube and it can be used for your face, but also for your body. Then you have the Yin Yang mask, and that is for your face only. Epoch will detox, and Yin Yang mask will detox and nurture. Epoch Marine Mud is made with sea clay that contains loads of minerals, and Yin and Yang mask is made with charcoal powder, porcelain flower, jasmine, scent, and so forth. So they are quite different. What could be great is if you, for instance, have combination skin and you get a bit oily in the T-zone. I have combination skin. Then you can use glacial marine mud for the T-zone, as you can see on the photo here. That is really great because glacial marine mud will, yes, draw out impurities, but also maybe excess oil production that many people with oily skin or oily to combination skin might suffer from. And then for your cheeks, which tend to be a bit more dry, this mask is fantastic. So not multitasking, but multi-masking. So that was just a bit more in depth about our newcomer to the family. I want to remind you what Michiel said in the beginning, that in June is our Force for Good month. So it is really in June that you should double up, triple up, or whatever you want on all of your stock of Epoch products. Whatever you buy, we will double. So double up on the donations in all of June. And with that, I will send you off shopping, and thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, everyone.